Greetings viewers on YouTube. Tahumata1888 doing a review of the Tawamata, the first canister set of Bionicle, as well as the very first sets. Of course I have 3, but I do know what the other 3 looks like. So let's get on with this. Okay. The cylinder part is exactly similar to Robo-Rider's, as you can see, and it does have a character sleeve where it kind of slides in like so. Oh. On the front we have like Tar, who's serving on lava, weapon at the ready. Lego Technic on the top left corner, and the name Bionicle on the bottom right. Product number 8534 is 7+, and yes, I managed to find out in Biosector each set comes in the estimated around 33 pieces, and on the other side it says includes CD-ROM, Tar, who's named behind the 3 virtues, the site that's kind of shut down, and the amount of pieces like they did with Robo-Riders, and how to put them in the canister, and I know how to do that. The secret web code behind each on the masks, a poster, and on the inside of the sleeve you see all the characters in their doing their positions. Tar living on lava, Gali climbing on mountains, Onua digging in tunnels, Liwa swinging through jungle vines, Kopaka on top of the hill looking up, and Porter kicking a stone ball. Well, that's what each canister has. I only have like 3, but I do remember what the other 3 look like. How to put them in the canister, and on the inside of the mask, and on the bottom is the here's the canister on the river. Then the tops open it with an explosion, and all of the pieces assembled. From what I can, at first I used to assume that's Tahu in the shot, but that's actually Liwa. How I can tell, because this piece here doesn't even look like a Tawamata limb, but look at the pistons, and on the inside it shows hints of the instructions, how it's built, and how to control the mechanism. Onua guys is similar, as we check as you guys have their canisters and instructions. And on the top, it's the lid acts like the lid can act like anything. The lid that blows up when the Tawamata washes ashore, or it can act like a suva. You could clip on mask, as you will see in the instructions. And yes, white places a gold mask, but it's the only safe place to put it if I'm going to switch Tao's mask at any time from his original mask to his gold mask. For Onua, same as before, and Gali, the same as before. Now we'll take a look. Now step 2, instructions. All Tawamata, the front of the instructions is the same as the front of the canister. On page 2, it's the Tawamata watching shore, as you can see, and again I'm assuming that's Liwa because of this piece there that kind of looks like a piston, the way the pistons are kind of assembled. Bionicle.com written beneath, and then building up your original model, building up the model. It used to look a bit. It kind of looks. The quality looks a bit realistic on the quality of the figure building looks a bit realistic, compared to the nowadays instructions like the 2015 line of Bionicle and so on. And after you place the mask on, then it shows to control the mechanism. Tahu engaging the fire sword, Porter kicking a stone ball, Onua digging, Gali actually using her hooks for combat, Liwa hitting his axe, and Kopaka using his ice sword. And next is the Tawakaita, a combination of Tahu, Pohatu, and Onua to make Akamai, the warrior of valor. And of course, yes, as you can see, the model uses the original red mask, but obviously because neither of them have the gold mask at all. But you get the gif if you saw the Matami Online game animations, and I did buy some spare Tawamata to build the Tawakaita. Top on Onua can instructions to build Akamai, Gali, Liwa, and Kopaka, make instructions to make Ruha. As you know, Onua carries the first half. Carries the first part of the instructions, Porter carries the second part, and Tar carries the third and final. And after that, once it's built, it's kind of portrayed in a vertical scale. And on the back, it shows you can put the masks with a 4 or 5 line plus stick, like that, on the sides of the lid, and put the Tawamata head so that way the mask can stay clipped on. As you can see each mask, and those colored dots, I've now realized, is that these masks can come in any range of colors. Like, sure, the Kanoe Hao comes in red, but it can come in black or blue. The Pakari can come in blue, white, or something, and so on and so forth. of course, Gali's mask. Because it's a transparent color, the red calico will look a bit ruby red. For Proparto's one, it'll be orange. Onoa's kind of a shaded with a tint of black. Gali's obviously trans blue. Lewa is kind of trans green, and Kopaka is kind of white, where it kind of looks like glass but tinted with white. That's what it's. Of course, Bionicle and Lego Technic. Okay, first up, the very first Bionicle I bought, which is the reminder of the first day, Tahu, Toe of Fire, fierce and selfless, and a leader of the Toamata. As much as I prefer this, I do even prefer. This alongside the 5 others to be original forms over their Nuva. As you can see, they do have the feet where it does have the pistons, and it's placed there. There are plus holes and circle. There's 2 plus holes and a circle hole. You can add something to it, and this piece is found on both his legs and his left arm. The triangle piston, and yes, I know the legs don't. Yes, I know the knee is not that mobile. For obviously back then they didn't plan this until 2003. But this piece kind of lasted from 2001 to 2005. I final set to have these pieces with the Toho Hordika with their left arms. And the 2006 is all faced out. And then the Slicer ball joint socket. And you're wondering what this is for. What I do is just place weapons in there. I did this for Leo and Kopaka too. It's supposed to be like a scabbard, for like kind of like accessory, so like the only way to place a sword in. As you can see, a 5mm plastic to attach the legs to the torso that we had only from 2001 to 2003, because 2004 they phased it out with the Tometru ones, and then 2006 with the Nikon stuff, and then 2011 had to introduce the ball joint skeleton they call the character building system. Then a ball piece, which I didn't even back when I was young, I didn't even question this, and now that everybody and whoever can make assumptions and can comment me on that. As you can see inside were a bunch of Technic parts, small gears to go inside so that way it kind of has the mechanism, and a giant gear which is supposed to act like a button or a lever to do that function. And yes, I know people do like the gears that much, and by the time the Toho Hordika, they were the first to phase out the gears. And yes, I know the right arm thing, but it doesn't count it doesn't count to move the up. It doesn't even count moving the. But it doesn't count because what the Hordika is not doing is lifting the upper arm P. It's not lifting the upper arm with it. It's just lifting the lower arm. But anyways, the Toho Hordika kind of phased out the gears for the upper arms to raise up. Of course, people may miss that, but I wasn't even fussed. But back then, I wasn't even fussed. But since 2015, and yes, I know Bionicle Generation 2 ended in 2016, which was a bit too soon, and they never even got to do a third and final sort in 2017. I mean, yeah, and it did kind of bring back the gears, and of course the arms are different from each other. With this, it's the same triangle piston and limb piece as the legs, with a slicer hand piece and 2 3mm plus sticks act like fingers. And this is a different kind of arm. We're supposed to be carrying his weapons. And Poato so far is the only one who doesn't even have this piece, since he's more of a stone ball kicking figure. As you can see, it carries a fire sword, and in case you're wondering why I put this stud piece there, so that way I can act, so I won't be confused like which direction to point the sword to. In case I get confused doing this or doing this, I wanted to be like realistic. I want to be realistic on a specific side. Like a curved katana that goes pointing up, so we know which arm it belongs to. And the sword that carries like fire powers to burst flames out of. And of course, a bunch of Technic pieces that goes with a 3-lane plus stick. And yes, you can see I put a pneumatic tube piece. I kind of took out advice from one of the videos that taught about neck articulation for the heads. Which, if we can get away with that, we can put a 5-leg pneumatic tube there to make sure there is mobility. To make sure there's mobility for the waist, so that way the legs can go forward or backward. If you guys like, that's the idea to do. But yeah, 2001 and 2003 were the only times we had this kind of headpiece, where it's kind of a tub-looking face with a circle mouth stud socket, and has transcolored eyes. Tahu with red, Pawatu with orange, Onua with transcolored original green, Gali with yellow, Liwa with lime green, and Kopaka with light blue. Which so far all the Lego animated media, the white guys always have those blue eyes. By that it's not just Kopaka. You also see with Nuju, Stormer, and stuff. And if you, to those who've seen Bionicle and Hero Factory media, you see what I mean. And even the Bionicle Generation 2 was Bionicle Generation 1. And his mask is the Kanoe How. The mask is shielding, which protects the user, except for like surprise attacks that unpredictably show up. And this mask is seen as the. At first I used to think Tahu was the one in the icon in the background, but no, that was an effective mask on the island of Mountainui. I do have that with the Mark and Kanera and my own custom Matori Makuta Pterodax wearing the infected house. And back in the day, they used to have a circular piece which people did complain it does cause the mask to slip off, but it does. But so far when I tried it, it doesn't clip off. It stays tight because the head's mouth socket is not that open enough for it to slip off. For instance, watch when I try knocking. If I try knocking it harder, it takes some sort of pressure to do it. But other than that, it can't stay tight. It takes like weaker mouth sockets to. To knock a mask off. It'll take a weaker mouth socket to do that. Because it's a light gray head. It is strong enough to keep the mask tight. When it's like darker gray heads, you see in the to those who have the Rahi sets, then maybe it's vulnerable to clip the mask off. As you can see, Tahu kind of looks. From what I see, Tahu definitely looks like a knight with the way the legs are built, the way the legs and the arms are designed to be like a triangle piston, and he kind of carries a sword, and the mask makes him look like a knight. Right. This one is the first Bionicle. It's the first Bionicle that I've bought. The figure itself is not just a reminder that the Bionicle's new. It's also his canister and his instructions and everything inside it. All that is a reminder that it was a reminder to me to the day Bionicle was new. Next up, Pohatu, Tower of Stone, the only kind of idealistic, friendly warrior who believes that working together is necessary. To those who got the comics and saw his acquaintance with Kopaka, as you can see, same feet as Tahu but in brown, and he does carry these feet additions that which in case he tries to kick a stone ball, it might hurt. It might hurt his toes. And just in case, I'll bring that stone ball as soon as I'll bring that stone ball up. Here's the stone ball that comes with him in the actual set. As you can see, it's supposed to help him kick stone balls like so, and it's supposed to help him kick stone balls like so, and it's supposed to help him kick stone balls like so, and but you get the gif. If you get the gif how it works. A stone ball he has to kick back, and he has the same triangle piston limbs as Tahu, but with two circular peg pieces, just for like a design, which kind of treats it like it's supposed to be it's just a design for Pohatu, but they are necessarily needed to assemble to combine the three torsos with the Tower Kaita. Speaking of torsos, his torso is the only one that's upside down because it's supposed to be for the gear function to kick a stone ball with, which makes Pohatu the only Tower that doesn't even carry a weapon at all. But yeah, the gears are built in like so. And that means when you build a right side up, the small gear goes on the left side, right, and flip right side down to make it look like it's the right side. As you can see, there's a bottom gear built on his back, and inside the part which is intended to be his waist, they put a 5-line plus stick slided inside with a tan not Technic piece there, and a 2-line plus red stick. Black, red. The one in red was introduced in 2007. A black 2-line plus stick, and then this kind of tan Technic piece that goes to assemble a head, to assemble a neck, and then the head goes in like so. Before we get to the head, we'll have to go to the shoulders. Comes with two slides of ball joint sockets, and the same ball piece by Tahu, and the slides of limb pieces, and a slides of hand piece for each on each arm of Puatu, and 2 3 plus sticks with the fingers of each. And Puatu carries the same frontier headpiece as Tahu with trans-colored orange eyes, and was the Kanohi Kakam the master speed, which allows you to run faster without the blink of an eye. Next up we go to Onua, the more friendly Toa of Earth, although can be fierce and can focus on missions. He's all black with darker grey, and he does carry the same feet as Tahu, the same triangle piston limbs, but flipped upside down for some reason. And then the torso is right side up, and he has 2 gears. For this time, instead of 1 arm or 1 leg, it's both arms to make sure he can tunnel with his claw. He can tunnel with his claws like so. And the kind of quake claws, which if I was one, yes, I did see in the Martin and Lion game. Even his claws can cause earthquakes when he hits the ground with it. These claws were so additionally used in many sets, like the Nivok for the upper claws, or even Karangari for the bottom jaws, or so on and so forth. And he carries 2 of the weapon-holding arm pieces to hold it, because during Task 1 these were more necessary to use to hold weapons. And the gears are put in like so, and yes, there's nothing to put his head on top because they want to make him like a hunchback. So what they did, the place where we see that we could put a ball on Taho's chest, they put a 2-line plastic and a Technic piece to make sure his head's kind of down, so he's more of a hunchback. Same frontier headpiece as Tahu with trans-colored original green eyes, and wears the Kanohi Pakari, the mask's strength, which allows the user to carry even the most heaviest things. And if it weren't for finding the masks of power, Tahu, Puatu, and the rest would not acquire the same strength to carry it, in case they want to handle things that are a bit too heavy. Whereas Onua is more likely to stick to the trademark of that mask. And that's what we have for the team who become Akamai, the warrior of valor. Next, we look up at Gali, the more kind of noble and kind of the ancient Toa of water, and the only kind of female member of the Toa Mata. Same feet as Tahu in blue, same triangle piston limbs as Tahu, and like Onua, it's upside down, which this one makes more sense for a feminine vibe on the legs. Because it reminds me of like bare, because it kind of looks like bare legs. Ball joint sockets and 4 kind of two-length circular pieces, where 2 are surrounding this side of the ball cups plus hole, and same for the other side. And she does have a wider waist, which does define her feminine vibe, and carries a Toa Mata torso, the gears for the mechanisms for the arms, and what she carries hooks for climbing and channel elemental powers. Of course, I did read on Biosector that they did say that during the first few years of Bionicle, it does act like hands, but now Greg Farshey canonized they are kind of separate weapons, and she does have bare hands. The arms kind of make her look like does carry a feminine vibe too, and a torso comes with a 2-line plus stick and a blue ball joint socket, which does give me the idea that she does look like a woman in one way, like how she looks like a woman. This part here isn't her navel is open, meaning this is how I figure she looks. How I figure she looks like a woman, and with this piece attached and the color scheme process, this part here is like an open navel. The ridge is surrounded by the 2 pistons. This is open, and which explains which that's how I figured she is a female. And she carries the 3M plastic for the auto for the neck, the same headpiece as Tahu, trans yellow eyes, and the trans blue Kanoe cow, the mask of water breathing, which allows the user to breathe underwater. I can see the female vibe with the yellow eyes shining out. I can see the female vibe with the trans yellow eyes is glowing out of the blue, and of course, in promoted material, the mask goes completely faint, and you can see more likely the entirety of the 2001 Tohumata head. Whereas you buy the actual set, you can tell that the bottom half of where Connell's like breathing apparatus is surrounding her mouth kind of covers up the whole thing. Like it wasn't that transparent completely. But yeah, this one I prefer over them. And because of this torso part here, when you look at this shot, I prefer this over the Miramax Gali Nuva. Sorry to disappoint those who like the Miramax trilogy of Bionicle, but I still prefer Tohumata over Toa Nuva, and I'm glad this one looks more like a woman than the 2002 Nuva did. Of course, people could rant the 2008 model doesn't even look like. Of course, yes, I know with 2008 the 2008 model they could rant there's not much that her incarnation doesn't. In the Mystica doesn't even look like a woman at all. Next, we look up at Liwa, the light-hearted Toa Vir. Once decided to go solo, but unaware that doing so kind of proves failure, which explains why he kind of progresses Unity. But he is kind of light-hearted. In the first 2 years of Bionicle, when we had these guys, so far I have the comics of the Tohumata, but the only novel books I got would be the